You know what? There's something against me tonight that does not want me to report this to you guys, but you know, I'm gonna do it anyway. No matter every technical difficulty that I've had, I want to talk about this today. Welcome everyone to a clarified conversation and dialogue with dignity. It is said that when you allow your ego to control your thoughts, everything you believe becomes an illusion. I believe we can ask Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York, is this true or not? Maybe Cuomo, when he initially took his oath into office, he probably really believed that he was going to be helping people. However, upon further assessment, I fear that belief is now an illusion for Governor Cuomo. So I want to go off and say that this video is a tribute to all the geriatric patients who have died of COVID-19 in long-term care facilities. Many of them without seeing their families, or, you know, they were scared and confused at the time of their death. This issue came into mainstream media about 2 weeks ago, but this actually happened a year ago. Of course, mainstream media isn't really talking about it anymore. It's old news, but for me and people who work in this community and families and personal people, this is not old news. This still hurts. So Governor Cuomo was in the news lately about the crime that he and his health officials committed last year during the height of COVID-19. All right, so let's recap quickly. Last year, Governor Cuomo and his public health official, his name is Dr. Zucker, they put out a decree stating that long-term care facilities could not deny the admission or readmission of a COVID-positive patient into their facilities. So this decree went out on March 25th and it lasted until May 10th of 2020. If you go back on the Department of Health website, they took it off. The New York Department of Health, they took it off. I did have a copy of it where I had a link where I could go on a website and look at it. It's gone now. So this was happening right at the height of COVID when they made this decree. So I'm going to tell you why this is a bad thing, but I just want to make it clear, Cuomo is not the only governor who did this. Our very own Tom Wolf, Governor Tom Wolf of Pennsylvania, and his public health official, Rachel Levine, they did the same thing too. Rachel Levine actually made sure to take her mother out of a long-term care facility, it is reported, right before everybody else was getting ready to be admitted COVID-19 positive. Because of course she knew how fast that infection would run through the building. And guess what? I would have did the same thing. I would have took my mother out. I don't know that I would put sick people in though. Only Andrew Cuomo and Tom Wolf did this. There are other governors who did this in America. But the reason why the light is really mostly shine on New York is because New York was considered a hot spot. Not only was it a hot spot, they had the Navy boat Comfort. Remember, there was like a Navy boat that docked in New York to give extra beds, and they opened up the Javits Center for extra beds because we kept hearing that the hospitals were being overran and the hospitals were being overran. So the Navy boat Comfort was reported to be able to hold 1,000 people, and in the Javits Center, they were reported to be able to hold 2,500 people. The Navy boat Comfort apparently was reported to only use 20 beds, and the Javits Center only used 45 beds. These are all reports. So while we're hearing that hospitals are being overran, I mean, we saw this, we saw the reports. They were showing us all the ambulance, everything happening. When Cuomo was asked about this, he said something along the lines of like, I didn't have to put sick people in nursing homes. We didn't have issues in the hospitals. But which one is it? And here's an even little known fact. I'm gonna let you in on something that you won't hear on any news. I signed up to do travel nursing in New York. So what I was gonna do was work with the New York Department of Health. They had empty hotels, because remember around that time, everything was shut down, especially in New York. So since the hotels were empty, they figured, let's take these hotels and make them into transitional like care, like skilled nursing for COVID-19 patients, especially ones that were homeless or ones that just couldn't go back home right away or else they would infect their families. And I got interviewed for it. I got like my days that I would be going. And the day before I was supposed to leave, I got a phone call saying that I was not needed anymore because they didn't even have enough patients to do this project, okay? And this was back in April. So I don't think they never did do that project. But of course, why would they have to? Because they had nursing homes available. You almost have to ask yourself, like, why did they decide to go the nursing home route? Maybe it was to save money, I don't know. So anyway, around this time, while this decree is going on, Cuomo was always on TV making his lovely speeches that garnered him Emmy Awards. And he even wrote a book about like how he handled COVID so well. I mean, do you guys remember some of his hits? One of my favorites was, "We need more ventilators." Or another one that I liked was, if they want to go outside, tell them to get essential jobs. That's when they asked him about, they said, there's people with mental health issues and they're like suicidal. They want to, the shutdown might be a lot for them. And that was his answer to the mental health crisis of COVID-19, which now has become a big disparity. So, while all of this is going on, the media is loving Andrew Cuomo. And I mean, he's bragging and boasting of his superb leadership, of how he handles COVID-19. And he's telling you, he also even said, Donald Trump was not giving us the equipment he needs. He's trying to murder Americans. And while all this is going on, while he's getting his awards and here, good sir, you're doing an awesome job. Keep up the good work. And we're going to give you more money to assist in the COVID fight. There was a 93-year-old great-grandmother, who hadn't seen her family in months, being invaded by a virus that would attack her lungs so fast and viciously that she would be left gasping for air while the overwhelmed nurse would try to reach her family and ask them to make an end-of-life decision within minutes. And before the nurse could probably even scramble to get the morphine ordered and get the morphine inside of her, she probably suffered into her death. Or even if she did get some morphine inside of her, it did not even matter, because all the nurse could really do is hold her hand and help her transition into death as she suffered along the way. And this type of thing could take place in 24 hours. You literally would have a patient who would feel a little fatigue, and then you would look again and this patient is literally gasping for air, times 10. You went from working in a routine long-term care facility to an ER/ICU in a day. So, and sometimes you don't even realize what kind of a toll it takes on you until you finally sit down and actually write about it and you remember some of these things that happen. And I want to make it very clear, when I'm speaking of this, is just to illustrate how that looks. I do not think of myself as some hero. I don't need labels. I don't want labels. This is what I signed up to do. However, it was a lot to see. Death does come for us all, but it doesn't have to come in such a violent way. Today, Cuomo states, I'm not apologizing. Apologize for what? Like, listen, we had to do what we had to do. The numbers were funny. I don't even know. And they're also talking about that he lied about how many people died in nursing homes, which is so crazy, because I've always said there were there was official documentation put out by the CDC telling doctors that if you assume a patient to have COVID-19, you can put that on their death certificate. So if a patient died of maybe pancreatic cancer, but they were assumed to have COVID-19, that could be the cause of death. And I always hated that thought, because I thought that will skew the numbers on a new virus that we should be watching very closely. But one place where the deaths were not exaggerated was in New York nursing homes, because Andrew Cuomo and his team was like reporting maybe 50% of the deaths. Can you imagine? And till this day, there are still nursing homes, because of COVID, there are still nursing homes that the residents don't have visitors, okay? And not only do they not have visitors, like, they still have not seen their family since last March. They are made to stay in their rooms 24 hours a day. What do you think happens to a 93-year-old veteran, law-abiding, tax-paying citizen of this country who is told now you're in solitary confinement for your own good. He becomes suicidal and he gets COVID anyway. Yeah, all this, and the patients still get COVID. People still come in to work. I'm not trying to trace back where the COVID comes from, but these are some serious parameters we're taking on a group of people, not everywhere, but on a group of people who are living now for quality of life, not quantity of life. So, they talk about, a little bit of impeachment and all that, and that would be a gift for Cuomo, because really, he's gotten to the point now where he says things like, we saved you from COVID, not God, and not... His ego has made him delusional. He still believes that he is a hero in the COVID fight. And I guess the government is just about as delusional as him too, because he still holds his powers, his emergency powers, and in this new bill that they're signing, this new what they call COVID-19 bill, which is nothing but a pork bill that's going to send money everywhere and then just give you a little bit of money for COVID. But anyway, they're giving most of the money to New York. New York, for me, from what I'm assessing, seems to have wasted money. I'm not a governor, but I can look for my own eyes and see the destruction, the disparity of what New York looks like and what these patients had to go through when they had other options. Yes, of course, this had happened in other places, but there was other options there. And around this time too, they were, burning Ron DeSantis at the stake. Oh, how could he open up Florida? They're not wearing masks. They're not this, that, and the other. Florida had high cases, but they did not have as many deaths. Florida nursing homes are open to families. Families can come in, I believe, 2 at a time, and they just have to wear their PPE. You do not hear all these geriatric people dying in nursing homes in Florida. Ron DeSantis did what he had to do. And yes, I'm going to bring up his name because for me to see all of this bureaucratic rhetoric of this one is bad, but this one isn't, when in fact there's facts to prove that there are people who died at the hands of this decree, it's horrible. I mean, horrible is a nice word. It makes me sick to my stomach. It does. Because around that time, people didn't know how to cohort with coronavirus. I mean, to take sick people and put them in the place of vulnerable people when you're telling us that we need to slow the spread and protect the vulnerable. Here's that. Today, the fabric of reality is unraveled for a lot of people because of COVID-19, and we were supposed to be protecting the vulnerable, and it seems to me that the vulnerable have been slighted and forgotten. And this video sounds very angry, and yeah, I am angry. I am, because I hate rhetoric and I hate bureaucratic crap. This one's better, like I said, and that one's better. No. We're supposed to be taking care of people. This was supposed to be about making people better. Public health has been put 3 masks on, hide in your bed. We're taking care of the vulnerable, but no, they can also get COVID patients in their homes too. So I guess all of this has to bring me back to the ego. These officials are making big decisions every day, and they are patting themselves on the back while they're doing it. That's the problem I have with it. You have Fauci, who says, I'm happy Brad Pitt played me in SNL. There's no time for that when it's supposed to be and that was last year. When everybody's supposed to be dying, you're worried about who's playing you in SNL. I've heard Cuomo with his own mouth saying, for Dr. Fauci, I'm Robert De Niro and you're Joe Pesci. Everybody has to listen to what we say. That's delusional, and that's that ego again. So, for me, I guess, what can I do? I can't go and arrest Andrew Cuomo. They would arrest me first. So, I can learn from this and always sit back, step back, and think about, I guess, my daily decision making or the daily things that I do, and keep my ego in check. Sometimes you're doing a great job, so the ego can get in the way and make you feel like you're a superhero. And you should feel good about a job that you're doing if you know that you're doing the job right. If you know that you're forthright and forthcoming, not lying to people. You can't lie to people and feel like you're a hero, but I guess if you're pandered with Emmy Awards, you can. So that's how I'm wrapping it up with that. I have more information coming in my next video about COVID travel restrictions, explained in a more easier to understand way. But that will be my next video, so stay tuned for that. So again, thank you guys for joining me for this clarified conversation, this dialogue with dignity. My respects to my, the families who lost their loved ones in this tragic situation in all nursing homes. My condolences to anybody who's lost anybody in COVID-19. But there are a lot of outraged families right now, and we'll see what happens. There's more to come in the news. They're asking for investigations and everything like that. So we'll see what happens, because this is serious. It's a serious pandemic. So this is a serious situation. But thank you guys for joining me. I will see you all with the next episode. Don't forget to watch, and don't forget to like and subscribe to That Girl Casey. Have a good night.